technology, diversity, wine, the redwoods, and everything in between. Welcome to the Northern California Bay Area, and one show takes you inside the real estate that makes it all happen. This is By the Bay.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to By the Bay. I'm your host, Dan Ancheta, and I'm really grateful for that you are here. And please do like and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you might be watching or listening to this podcast. And make sure you're following us on Instagram. I'll put all of that in the show notes below. And today I have a great guest. Cait Hudson is here. She is a realtor at Twin Oaks Real Estate in the East Bay, area. And she's also the founder of a really cool new tech tool coming out called Nest Hub that is not quite released yet, but we're going to be out next month.
That's right.
So welcome to the show, Cait. Thank you for being here. Thanks for reaching out. Cait, you reached out to me through Instagram. So thank you for being a show watcher and so on. And I appreciate you reaching out and talking about your tool and wanting to come on the show. So tell the audience like kind of who you are and your experience and so on.
Cool. So as he said, my name is Cait Hudson. I've been a realtor for about 10 years now in the East Bay area predominantly. And before that, I had gone to UC Santa Cruz, graduated from there, got a degree in psychology, thought that that's kind of the route I wanted to go, and then jumped into real estate. Had this idea for Nest Hub that we'll talk about, shortly, about 5 years ago. So it's been a 5-year kind of thought that I've had. And finally, end of last year, I was like, I have to
just go make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think the where I want to start was like, so you went to UC Santa Cruz, go banana slugs, right?
Yeah.
And your career path you're thinking was going to be in like mental health, right?
That's right.
And I think a lot of what we do in the real estate world on the mortgage side and on the sales side as a realtor has to do with like helping people through life change. And change is hard, and change can bring up a lot of emotion and bring up a lot of like trauma and all these other things that happen in people's lives. So kind of talk to me about how your education, like your background and thinking that you're going to get into be a mental health professional has helped your real estate career.
Sure. So I've always been like a really big advocate for mental health. When I graduated, I ended up volunteering at a suicide hotline. I did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years. It was really intense, but I really like feeling like I'm a crutch for someone that's in need. And so when you talk about real estate and being that person for people, like we do feel like that with every client, and maybe not the whole transaction, but parts of the transactions can be really stressful. So for me, I think it just really helped me be that person for my clients when they need it, because it's scary. It's stressful. I mean, depending on why they're selling or they're buying, it could be really emotional. And I pride myself on being like the rock for my client.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's timely because May is Mental Health Awareness Month,
it
right?
Is, yeah.
So everything's just kind of coming together.
Yeah.
So I find myself, in situations professionally where, there's difficult life changes that are happening. There's divorce happening. There's, death. There's things that have happened in people's life. And being like the calming force that can come in and be like, hey, here's the options. Like, I don't know the answer, but here are the options, and I'm here to help you and, and listen and understand what the real needs are. And then as the expert kind of guide you down the path. Mm-hmm. Right. So is that what your experience is as well? Like, do you just find yourself naturally gravitating to clients that have those types of needs?
Yeah, I think that most of my clients are like that. Like I said, at some point in the transaction. And it could be something, the solution could be something so simple and just be like, hey, I'm here for you. Like, I hear what you're saying, right? Something so simple. And it doesn't have to be like this professional thing. It's like a human to human thing.
Right.
And that's how I like to run my business.
I think it's really important, overlooked. Like there's all sorts of classes and seminars about sales tactics and sales skills and all this stuff. And I think that one of the most important things that we can do as real estate professionals is just be a human being.
Yes.
And like connect with people
yes.
on a human level, listen, understand, and then, kind of really help them figure out what the core issue is for them or what the pain point is, mm-hmm. so that we can help them find the solution that's going to mm-hmm. like meet all their needs, or at least most of their needs.
Right.
Right. And I kind of laugh. So we go to these seminars and it's like, and then you use this system to follow up and use this and do this and use, it's like, well, how about we first start with connecting on a human level?
Yeah,
And let's do that first.
exactly. Or like scripting. Like I get scripting as a thing, like it makes you feel confident. But for me, I was always just like, I'm just going to say how I feel. I'm going to help them. I'm going to be a good person.
Right.
Like that's it.
I think scripting is good to start a conversation.
Yes.
And then, because sometimes it's awkward and like, I don't know what to do or say.
Yeah.
And then once you start kind of rolling and then you build that rapport, then it's like, well, now I'm just going to be myself and then kind of take it or leave it. Right. So yeah, that's really interesting. I think we joke about, being half mortgage loan originator, half therapist. But you really are. So that's really interesting. So your area of expertise is mostly East Bay, but do you kind of cover a broader regional area? Like where are your limits as far as where you're?
Yeah. So if you look me up online, you'll see a lot of my sales are like Walnut Creek and the surrounding cities, but I'll go wherever my clients need to go to an extent, right? So I've gone to Lodi, to San Francisco, but anything further like Sacramento, where I feel like I'm not going to be able to service the client correctly, then I refer out.
Yeah, I think that's important too. Like that local expert who knows the areas, knows the neighborhoods, knows the school districts and can kind of, and also uses their relationships to like find off market deals and other opportunities. It's again, an overlooked thing.
It's so overlooked. And I'm so glad that you said that because when I'm talking to, I have some mentees that work underneath me. And I tell them like sales is great. Obviously, that's why you're doing this, right? To make money, to be in real estate, but also understand that your reputation in this business with other agents and other loan officers and title companies is huge. It's like just as important because you get those off-market deal opportunities. You're known as being like an easy agent to work with, right? And so I always push to new agents to make sure that they're keeping their reputation in the highest.
Yeah, no, it's important. I think we, from our perspective as from the lending side, we call all of the listing agents, for our buyers, and obviously not giving them personal information, but telling them the story, right?
Yeah.
Helping them be, again, turning the piece of paper that they're looking at into a human being. And I find that we wind up winning a lot of deals, like participating in winning. Of course, it has to be the right price, the right terms. All those things are important. But adding that human layer to go like, here's who these people are, and here's what they're doing, and here's what I've done to prepare them to become home buyers and homeowners, and then you use your personal connections to help your clients win.
Right.
And that's part of why you use local agents. Right. And loan officers.
Yeah.
Okay, so the East Bay market. So they'll be very transparent. I don't do a ton of business in the East Bay. So I know my sister lives there. Hey, Jen. And because she must listen and watch every single week. I'm sure she is. So my sister lives in Clayton. So my experience is like driving there to get out to see my sister. So talk to me about like what's happening in the East Bay market. Cause it's a wide range of price points and types of neighborhoods. And there's like, Danville is very different than Benicia. Right.
That's right.
So kind of talk to me about that market in general and how are things going there right now?
So I think typically Walnut Creek and the surrounding cities like Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, you can bring in La Miranda, so Orinda, Moraga, Lafayette. Usually when there's like a downturn or a slight change in the market, they're not affected a lot. And I think it has to do with the school districts and just the overall placement of those cities. But what we're seeing, at least I'm seeing in like Brentwood, Oakley, Antioch, there's just an influx of inventory right now. And so buyers are having an easier time negotiating on price point, and sellers are having a hard time selling.
Right. So they're having to create some incentive, do some buy downs, pay some closing costs.
That's right.
Lower price points.
We're seeing
Isn't
a lot
there a lot
more
of new construction happening out there too?
Yes. So in Antioch, there's a lot of new construction, and the new construction is anywhere from, I want to like say 700,000 to 900,000. That's for like a 2,600 square foot home. So if you're not new construction and you're trying to sell your home in Antioch and it has specific specs to the new construction, it's even more difficult to sell.
Got it. So you either have to, again, increase supply, lowering price points or creating other incentives.
That's
But then
right.
builders right now, just read a report that builders are offering unbelievable incentives to sell
Yes.
some of these houses.
Yes.
But we're not seeing prices go down
Mm-mm.
dramatically.
Mm-mm.
So it's a really interesting time right now with rates being where they are and just the affordability being relatively low, right? The affordability index is low. But it would be really interesting to see how that increased inventory affects home prices in general.
Yeah.
Now, are you seeing when you're dealing with your buyers, and I guess your sellers too, are they coming from outside of the area? Like when your buyers are moving into the area, are they already in Walnut Creek and buying a new house in Walnut Creek?
It just depends. So the ones I have now, they live in Martinez. They bought in Orinda. I have another client that's buying in Fairfield. They live in Hawaii.
Okay.
My sellers, which is interesting, which I'm sure a lot of like other realtors can relate to. My sellers in Brentwood and like Antioch area are selling because their work is now requiring them to go back to work.
Got it.
And the drive from Brentwood, and this is just an example of one of
Yeah.
my sellers, from Brentwood to Pleasanton every day is just too much. So she's selling because of that. And she only bought 2 years ago.
Right. So I think, yeah, we're seeing a lot of that too, where folks who are commuting into San Francisco, like my personal opinion is that Petaluma is the last where we are.
Mhm.
Petaluma is the last town you can live in to commute to San Francisco on a regular basis. Anything further north is just too far.
Too much.
Right. So I had a number of clients who bought in like the Russian River area, Guerneville, because they're able to telecommute. And maybe they were going to the office like once a month. And going once a month for a 2-hour drive is
Not bad. Yeah.
but doing it all the time is painful. So they're either selling their houses in the Russian River area and buying closer or in San Francisco itself, or they're keeping their house in the river as a vacation home and renting in the city. I'm seeing a number of that, or they're buying, if they have the ability to, buying in the city as well. So that kind of post-COVID switch up, or like
We're
return to
seeing
work
it.
and everything else.
Yep.
I also had clients that were wanting to move back here that were living in Sacramento, and they work for the state. And now the state's saying that they have to come back to work, even though like they were fully remote and it's working really well to be fully remote. But there's all these mandates for people to go back to the office, which I don't really understand. I have remote workers and they're just as effective as my in office. And I'm like, I don't really care where you work as long as you get the job done.
Right.
But there's a whole thing right now. I'm not sure. I got to like read up on it, I think. But there's a whole movement of this, you have to be in the office thing. I honestly, from my personal experience, I don't get it.
Yeah. And I think like what you said is correct. Like we just want you to get your work done. Like it doesn't matter where you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
But I heard that like maybe it has a lot to do with like the sense of camaraderie and like, that you get from an office setting.
Sure.
So
There is something
that.
to that.
Yeah.
There's something to that. But I think there's other ways that you can make it happen instead of just saying, you must be back here.
You have to come or you're going
to be fired.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, I agree.
So the mix of people moving into the area from outside of the area and also relocating kind of within that East Bay geography, either upgrading, downgrading houses, or to cut down on commute if they're needing to do that.
If they have to go back, yeah.
Because guys, we don't have BART up here, so you guys still have BART connections out there. So you can get into the city. How long does it take to get into San Francisco?
From where I'm at?
Yeah. From
like if I'm in Walnut Creek, 30 minutes,
yeah, and
40
you get to
minutes.
like work while you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, you could.
Yeah. People watching is way more excited
on
the BART, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But there's no BART in Brentwood. So that's why I bring up Brentwood. It's too far. I think it goes to Antioch. I mean, I could be wrong, but
I just drove back there. I was like driving back from the Fresno area. We went a different way. We like went on the backside through Brentwood, I think.
Okay.
And wound up, I don't know. But yeah, the BART line was somewhere over there, but I'm not sure exactly where.
Yeah, I don't think it goes that far.
I'm sure I can pull up a map on the internet and you can tell us. Okay. So what other trends are you seeing with your buyers and sellers right now? Is anything different in 2025 so far?
I think that buyers are always just super sensitive with interest rates, always, like since I've been in this business, right? And I think that there's more questions as to like, are interest rates ever going to go back to pre-pandemic? or during, and it's hard to say. I think that most people are saying no.
Yeah. It's really interesting. It's like, yes, possibly, but we don't know
But
when.
we don't, yeah.
Like, will it ever be a 3% interest rate again? Like, probably not.
Right.
Like, very unlikely without some other major world disrupting event like COVID.
Yeah.
Probably not going to get a sub-3 interest rate without paying a huge amount of points.
Yeah.
But what you said is interesting, that interest rate, like the headline interest rate, is a big motivator for buyers. And I wish we could change that perspective in the industry to be more of the total cost of borrowing, because the interest rate, like interest rates come and go, but really understanding like your total cost of borrowing is actually a more realistic and meaningful metric for home buyers, because people talk about interest rates all the time and actually lose a good amount of business because other lenders will, quote a way low interest rate when they're doing their pre-approval.
Yeah.
And then when it comes time to actually lock them, they're like, well, things have changed and the market's different. And now it's, a different interest rate. And I just don't like doing that.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important that people understand that there's different components into an interest rate, right? There's like, you can buy points. There's different origination costs. There's all sorts of different ways to do it. And I see a lot of loan estimates that come through where I'm like, oh my God, like you think you're getting a good deal here, but if you really look at the numbers and understood it, you would see that this is a terrible deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing that I'm sending you is way, way, way better, but the interest rate is lower on that deal.
Right.
Anyway, get a little tangent.
No, but I think that's really interesting, because I think you're right. Like, people are so interest rate conscious.
It's just the rate.
It's just the rate. And it's like, well, what if I could get you a lower amount per month?
Right.
Some other, it's just, so I think that has to do with them just not being educated enough, and not at their fault. They're just not maybe in the right hands of the right lenders or the right realtors, right?
Yep.
Do you think some of it has to do with psychological though? Because I've thought about this a lot, and I think that people like to show off their house. They like to show off oh, I sold my house for this much. And I've heard a lot after pandemic, well, my friend got an interest rate at 2.5.
All the time.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I almost think that sometimes it has to do with trying to compete, not knowing they're trying to compete, but just having that language to me, just
Well, there is, yes, I think there is something maybe subconscious, and maybe I know too much about it and I'm making this up, but the lower interest rate you have does say something about, your credit score, and your the best, strongest borrowers get the lowest interest rate.
That's right.
So if you're kind of oh, I've got a 9% rate, it's like, well, dude, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And that there's nothing wrong with a 9% interest rate, because sometimes there are circumstances where you're not using a traditional mortgage, you're using a bank statement loan or a other kind of non-QM loans, not to get too technical, but there's a bunch of weird loans that we can do. If you don't have traditional W-2, income. So we do a number of debt service coverage ratio loans for investors and bank statement loans for self-employed folks. And those have higher interest rates. That doesn't mean that they're bad borrowers.
Right.
It just means that the loan programs that are available to them are higher risk, because they're not using a Fannie Mae loan, which is, kind of artificially low. Anyway.
Right.
So I think that there is something to that about maybe subconsciously they think that if I say I have a low interest rate, that means I'm more put together financially.
Right.
But that's not always.
It's not always the case.
Not always the case.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. There is something about that.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about unless you have anything else to say about the current state of the market.
No, we think we covered everything. Yeah.
Nice. So let's talk about Nest Hub. So this is so your main job, your 9 to 5, or in real estate, it's 6 to 10, right?
Yeah.
AM to PM.
Yeah.
Is selling real estate,
That's
helping sellers and buyers do their thing. And that's the main thing. But then you saw that there was a need in the market, right? That there was a gap between the home search process and getting into contract. And so you created this thing called Nest Hub, and we're launching here soon.
Yes.
And so tell me about the solution and what it does.
Okay.
And this is really, guys, for realtors who are listening, because they would be the ones who would, utilize the system to help their buyers.
That's right. So they would be the ones utilizing it to help them keep organized, but also to help their buyers be organized as well.
Okay.
But we really are pitching more towards realtors and brokers. So just to like go back 5 years is when I thought of this idea. And it was with one of my buyers, and we were, I think it was like right before pandemic, but we were just getting beat out like over and over and over again. And we were viewing properties every weekend together, multiple properties. And I think this client, I ended up writing 17 offers. And within that time period, I was sending them multiple properties, different disclosures, different offer deadline dates. And I found it really difficult to keep track of everything I was sending to them. And they found it difficult as well because they would ask me the same question about the same properties. So 5 years ago, I created like a Google sheet. And I just would put the address on there. I would put the offer deadline date. I'd put the disclosure link, and I'd put the comparable link. And then I would just put a section for notes. And it was just like a running Google sheet. And they had access to it too, right? Because you can ask them. You can invite them.
Totally.
And whenever they would comment, I would get notified and vice versa. So I would do this. And then I continued to do it for all of my buyers. And I started realizing, why isn't there something like this? This is so easy. Everything's in one place. They're not asking me the same questions anymore.
Right.
I'm not having to like remember
Right.
because I can just go back on that Google sheet. So fast forward 5 years, that's what I've created.
Okay. So I just want to be, so I haven't seen the whole thing yet. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And so this is not a home search tool. This doesn't replace like Real Scout or whatever else you're using. And it doesn't replace your CRM system.
That's right.
This is a separate technology that is only for the houses that they have looked at or are showing interest in.
That's right. Yeah. So it's not a CRM. It's not like you're not going to go on there and look for properties that are for sale. This comes in after you've located properties that you're interested in potentially submitting an offer on.
Okay.
So then Nest Hub comes in, and you're putting in, you or your client are putting the properties that you're interested in. And then you're putting all the information that they would need to be able to make a decision on if they want to make an offer or not.
So it's the disclosure packet, the pest report, like all of the relevant stuff.
Yeah. And you can do it. So you'll have option for disclosures, comparables, offer deadline dates. And something really cool on there that I really like is like, let's say you offered on a property, but you didn't get it. There's a section where you can put what you offered. Once it sells, it will automatically tell you what it sells for and where your property lied within where that actually sold for.
Interesting.
So moving forward, if you keep losing out on offers, you can go back and you can see the trend of like, okay, maybe I was offering 10% less. And if I offer 10% more, maybe I'll get the next house. So there's some analytics with it. And I think that's really cool because you can't, the numbers don't lie, right? The numbers are the numbers. And so for my clients to be able to see that on those properties, I think will be really helpful.
Okay. So if I'm your home buyer and I'm like, hey, Cait, here's like the 7 houses I've looked on, thank you for filling all these listings. You sent me like 50 listings that are available, and I don't like 43 of them for whatever reason, but these 7, they look okay.
Yep.
And you're like, cool. So you put them into Nest Hub, and then it gives me all of the relevant data that I need to know.
That's right.
And maybe that's before I even go look at them, because maybe I want to look at the disclosures before I even go. And I go, well, this one's got too much pest problems, and this one's got this and that. And okay, take this one off the list, take this one off the list.
Yep.
And it can help me hone down the search. And then maybe I go and I see 3 of those 7, but they have different offer due dates, right? And I'm like, hey, well, if I miss out on this one, I want to make sure I offer on this one, but I really want this house, right? Then we can help prioritize that one, get my lender to send me the pre-approval letter. You can write up the purchase agreement, and then, but I might still have these other 2 in mind, just in case, because highly competitive markets like we're in. You might need to make multiple offers before you get an offer accepted. So this is that dashboard, essentially, that helps your client stay organized in that very stressful time between identifying a house that you might see yourself buying and actually getting into contract.
That's right. That's exactly right. And also wanted to note that it's MLS integrated. So it pulls data from the MLS directly.
So if I put in an address and you're not, so if on the user side, if I'm like, hey, 123 Main Street or whatever, it's going to pull the listing straight from the multiple listing service.
That's right.
And it's going to tell me the square footage and the number of bedrooms and the year built and all that other stuff. So this is really a toward the bottom of the funnel tool to help clients and realtors stay organized and have a visual dashboard to be able to navigate that last
step before submitting an offer. Yeah.
Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And so this is it's like a web tool, right? So a website that you
it's a website
would subscribe to,
right?
And pay a monthly or annual fee or whatever. And then it adds to the realtor's tech stack and is another way to help them protect their clients from going elsewhere.
Yeah,
right? From
that's right.
Clicking on a Zillow link and then getting connected with the realtor there and do whatever, like all of that stuff that we are aware of.
Yep.
Okay. So where are you at? Because you're beta testing now.
Beta testing. So I hired a software developer from Los Gatos who's amazing. Pitched the idea, I want to say about 6 months ago. He's been working on it for the last 2.5 months. So it's like a 3.5 month project. I just saw it yesterday, so I'm so excited and so happy to be here now to talk about it.
Totally.
But yeah, so we're going to launch probably the first or second week of June. And my plan is really to go to different brokerages because there is going to be an option for brokerages to supply it to their agents.
An enterprise solution.
Yeah, but also single agents can as well if their broker doesn't want to. But that's kind of like what the future looks like.
And this is just you. This is you. You're the whole sales team, and you have a third-party developer.
So it's just me. I have a third-party developer. I have this amazing marketing team that did like all of my video and photo material for my real estate. Become really great friends with them. So they're on now. They're doing, if you guys follow me, they're doing all of my Nest Hub Instagram content. And I like sprinkle stuff in there as well myself, but it's just me.
That's really cool. Yeah. What a cool idea. And I understand the need, right? Because there's a lot of kind of chaos that happens and it's hard to compare, right? If you have, dissimilar houses, right? They're not cookie cutter. They're just different places, different things. Like it's a hard decision.
It is.
And having a centralized place to be able to go through, I imagine, the people are laying in bed and they're like, okay, we said we're going to sleep on it. We need to decide which one we're making an offer on. And like pulling up the thing, like, okay, here's the pros and cons. Here's the this and that's. Let's look at all the information. It's all right here. We don't have to search through 50 emails and scroll through the Google stuff. And it's right here.
It's just there.
And then you can make an informed decision.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if a realtor wants to jump on board, that's going to be not available yet to sign up, but they can get information. They can follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. My personal is Cait.realtor, but I have a Nest Hub account, NestHub.AI. So either of those, I'm releasing, different stages of when we're going to actually be able to release on that.
Cool.
On both.
And they would reach out through their website to sign up. Like there's going to be like a subscription thing through there.
Yeah. So there's going to be a subscription page right now. NestHub.AI is nothing. It just says coming soon on it. But if you wanted to like request information, you can drop your email or phone number there. But soon enough that it will switch to actually having like the landing page of exactly what we're talking about right now.
That's really cool. Now, after the property closes, does Nest Hub stay around and hold on to like your purchase agreement stuff and all the other things, or does it end?
Well, so you mean for the buyer or for the agent?
Yeah.
For the buyer, yeah, you can archive. So they can archive themselves or the agent can archive them as well. So all of that will be gone. And just so you know, there's no personal information other than the client's name, phone number, and email address on there, but there's no like legal documentation on there.
Got it. Yeah, because sometimes I do get people coming back after the deal closes and they're like, do you have a copy of the appraisal? Do you have a copy of this or that? Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see maybe a future feature is like a place to keep all the documents. So like everything, the purchase agreement stays there, the contract agrees that it stays there, like all their loan docs can stay there, and there's like one place for everything to stay.
I was thinking, no, and I think that's great. I'm always open to like people telling me what they'd like to see. I do want to keep it very simple because I find that sometimes companies start very simple and it's great. It's so easy to use. But then like years down the line, it's like so much stuff thrown on there.
Yeah. It's like the scope creep starts happening.
It's too much.
I
and
had a experience with that with the technology that we use. And we first adopted it a few years ago. It was like, it did 3 things and that was it. And we're like, this is great.
Amazing.
It does these 3 things. It doesn't try to do anything else. It's phenomenal. And now it does 40 things. And it doesn't do the 40 things very well anymore. And it's like, okay, time to move on because they lost the plot.
Yeah.
So I think it's good. And it's a really important thing that like technologies is stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Don't try to be everything to everyone.
Right.
Like don't try to add a search function.
Right.
Someone already does that really well.
Right.
You know, just stay right where you are, solve the problem that you solve.
Yep.
And go from there.
And that's my goal. So mark my words.
Yeah. It's documented now.
5 years from now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like this,
when you're
like...
back and you're like, oh, you got this $4 billion technology company. And yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, Cait, thank you for being on the show.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate you driving over here and reaching out. And if you want to be a guest on By the Bay, please reach out. Always looking for interesting, talented people to come chat with. And thanks for watching and listening to By the Bay. And we will see you next time.
Stay up to date with Bay Area real estate. Hit subscribe now if you haven't already. Did you enjoy this episode? We love reviews in the Apple Podcasts app. We'll read yours on the show. This is By the Bay. Lambda Media.